Hello, everyone. My name is Tooways Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Tooways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. Now we are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow. For those listening on the podcast, please leave a rating for us, whether that's on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify or whatever other podcast that you use. Now, if you are joining me live, drop a one in the comments so that I know I'm not talking to myself, and drop a two in the comments if you're watching the recording. So today, I'll be talking about my recent trip to Dubai, attending the Accounting Refigured conference, what I learned about the accounting industry there, and an update on my perception of the place. Why I say update is because this was my second trip. I attended, I went to Dubai last year around the same time. I didn't get a chance to attend the conference, but this year I made sure I attended the conference. I did a lot of bit of research at the time. I had a little bit of learnings. I also shared my experience at that stage. So this is a follow up. It's a bit of a different kind of experience because I sort of knew what to expect, or I wasn't totally in the unknown with this trip. And I'll be talking about each part or everything that I mentioned kind of intertwined instead of dealing with a subject or subject separately, because I feel that each one impacts the other. For me, the experience of Dubai is all encompassing, with everything having an impact on that whole experience. So I'll be talking about it together. So I traveled at the beginning of May, and I've taken a little bit of time to process the experience before I could share it with you. Like I said, this was my second trip. I had a few meetings this time. I had meetings last time, but I had a much better idea what to expect compared to my trip from the last time. I think before my first trip, I had this rose-tinted expectations because I mean Dubai's got quite a good. They've got quite a good marketing. Like when you look at videos online, it makes it sound like this amazing place, and not that it's not amazing, but I had a more realistic expectation compared to my expectation the first time. So you might ask, okay, Wes, what was the aim of your trip? Why did you travel there in the first place? And I've been lucky enough to see a lot of South Africa. And in 2023 was the first time that I got the opportunity to travel overseas. And ever since then, I decided that I want to see the world. And this is one of the places that I wanted to see. And after I went the first time, I definitely wanted to go back again. The main aim of the trip was to attend the Accounting Refigured conference and connect with accountants in the region. I wanted to meet accountants, grow my networks, and establish some connections. Accounting Refigured is done by Scope Accounting, which is almost a tech company. They can give you a better idea if you look on their LinkedIn profile. But the aim was to talk about the different technologies that are available to accountants in that area. The one thing that I must say about this trip is that the connections that I made on this trip were a lot more solid than my previous trip. I think this is also down to the focus. My focus this time was okay, I'm going to I want to connect with people. So I had that intention. And also, the community that was created after the conference was something to behold. I'm still on the WhatsApp groups, and I pay attention and I chat where I can. So just being connected, still feeling connected to the conference was something that was really, I think it was really good compared to my trip last year. So obviously this was the second year they had the conference. They had one last year which I missed, and they're having the next one is next year May. And uh, as long as I can do it, I'm planning on attending that one. uh, Accounting Refigured, it felt like it is a start of a major movement in the region, and I want to be part of that growth. um, Now all I need to do is convince the organizers to give me a speaking slot for next year. Indeed. One thing that surprised me about talking to the to different accountants in the region or in Dubai was that South Africa is quite far ahead of the UAE in terms of cloud accounting adoption. In Dubai, there's still so many companies that are using desktop systems or Excel for their accounting records. And that took me by surprise because you think, okay, you're coming from South Africa, some people call it the third world. We are far ahead, I mean, in terms of cloud accounting adoption. And somebody gave me a good reason why. So they, as a region, that country at least, before 2018, there was no VAT. VAT only came in 2018, and there was no company income tax until last year. So there was no real, if you were a small business, there was no real reason to have on time accurate financial records, because it didn't mean much. You weren't paying tax, you weren't paying VAT, so there wasn't really that much of a requirement unless you, on your own volition, wanted to keep up to date. Obviously, if you're a listed company or there's lots of shareholders, you would. But I'm talking about your SMBs, your small one-person owner, or under 1 million, or even under 10 million rands. We're talking about. But like I mentioned, the VAT started in around 2018 or 2019. The VAT rate in the UAE is 5%. Now compare that to 15% in South Africa, where the Minister of Finance wanted to increase it to 17%. And I think I speak under correction, but the VAT rate in the UK is 20%. So look, we're not the worst off in South Africa, but we're not in a great position VAT-wise. Also, the company income tax rate in the UAE is 9%, and that's still very low compared to South Africa's 27%. There's still no personal income tax in the UAE. So, I mean, if you're earning a salary there, you're not paying tax on that salary. Compare that to the 18 to 45% that we're paying here in South Africa, and that's a massive chunk of your salary that you can get back if you were working there. What I do think, though, is that as South Africans, we should use our current early adopter position in cloud accounting to our advantage. How we do that, it's up to you. I'm just informing you. What I spoke to quite a few accountant entrepreneurs there, and what I found out is that the businesses, not all of them, but many of the businesses or the accounting businesses have, let's say, a few people in Dubai or in the UAE, and a lot of the work is done outside of the UAE. So what they could do is they outsource, or not necessarily outsource, they have another business or something on the Indian subcontinent like India or Pakistan, or they have the rest of their business in the Philippines, and they use that as a means to keep their costs as low as possible. And chatting again to people in the region, the cost of a newly qualified chartered accountant in India is half the price of a newly qualified chartered accountant in South Africa. I don't even know what the newly qualified chartered accountant is in Dubai, which is probably more than South Africa. But I was just like, wow, if the costs are half the price of South Africa, that's very interesting. And I can understand why they're outsourcing there and not maybe to South Africa. So, I mean, if you want to move to Dubai as a newly qualified CA from South Africa, it's probably going to be a bit of a struggle unless you've really got something that sets you apart. What they did mention is we maybe have a better, our language, the language that we speak, or the way we communicate business language might be better than, for example, India or Pakistan, and that could set you apart. But does it compensate for half the price of your salary? Probably not. So there's something else that you need to do to make yourself stand out. And again, I recommend using those advantages when you apply for any jobs overseas. How we communicate, the strength of South African chartered accountants globally. Use that to your advantage. Now, one of the exciting sessions at the Accounting Refigured conference was when they showed us how one can design a management report or an investment report in Google Docs using Gemini in under 15 minutes. This was like the free version of Gemini. And that blew me away because, I mean, the impact of AI is crazy and we're merely at the tip of the iceberg. One of the other things that I loved about Dubai is how people from different countries and backgrounds work together and do business. It seems like anything is possible there. Although there does seem to be a bit of a focus on attracting entrepreneurs and high net worth individuals specifically from the West. Not that they're not attracting those from elsewhere, but it seems to be a focus. Again, just an opinion. Let's talk a little bit about the heat. So I was there in May when it's about to start getting very hot. And when I got there, it was like 36 degrees and it was unbearable being outside for long. Apparently the heat in the summer goes to like over 40. I probably wouldn't survive outside. But luckily, most things are inside and the air cons are constantly on. So you end up being cool. And I actually had to take a jacket with because those air cons are on full blast and you sometimes feel cold. In the conference, I had my jacket on. So you might say, okay, wait, why Dubai again? I mean, it's cool. Well, give me some more reasons. And the reason I chose this is because I've done a lot of research. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos about the place and the opportunities, and I want to see for myself. And I started investing in the area as well through fractional ownership of real estate. And I'd connected with a few people. So I wanted to see, I want to get that on the ground experience. Now, I didn't get to explore the whole city. I wanted to experience some of the places that I didn't see yet. I was there for 7 days and I used the trains quite a bit. I traveled from the one side all the way to the other side, all the way to the interchange between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. I traveled all the way to the end. But since I started talking about the train, let's talk about the transport system a little bit. I mean, road traffic seems to be a problem. Traffic is an issue from like 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning, and then again from 3 in the afternoon to 7 in the afternoon. So it seems to be a bit of a mess. The trains are slower, but there's no traffic, so you can kind of get I mean, if you can survive on the train and you stay close to the train line and you don't have to walk in the heat for long, you can survive on the train. The trains work well. I took the bus once or twice. The bus maybe not so user friendly as the trains. This time I'll probably avoid the buses. I ended up taking the bus somewhere, and then it was going to take too long to come back, so I ended up just taking an Uber or their version of an Uber to come back. Uber is quite expensive there. They have another version which is the price. So they have Uber. They do have actual Uber, and then they've got another thing which is Kareem, which is owned by Uber, which is not as expensive, but still pricey compared to Uber here. It's not as expensive as the US, but much more expensive than South Africa. I'd call it halfway in between. So, where I remember in Los Angeles spending 1,000 rand on an Uber trip from the airport to the city, and Dubai I would spend 500 rand. Well, in Cape Town you'd probably spend, call it 250 rand. Call it that, maybe a little bit less. So again, it obviously depends on how far you're traveling, but just and Joburg is probably different because the airport is a lot further. But then again, in Joburg, you'd also want to use the Gautrain potentially. Like I said, it was a bit more expensive. I would say the cost of living is definitely much higher than South Africa, but much lower than the US. Again, I'd say halfway in between. For me, food was easily accessible, and they had food from all over the world there. A nice benefit for me was that everything was halal, so that made my life very easier. And I went to a lot of malls because they've got a lot of malls there, similar to South Africa, and the shops in the malls are not cheap. So what I ended up doing is I went to the main malls, but I ended up also going to the cheaper malls, the ones that are not the main attractions, and looking for what the budget, what do they have on a budget, for interest sake. The one thing that I will say is that the experience of old Dubai is also completely different. Like you walk through the gold souk, and trying to buy things there can be tricky because you have to negotiate and you have to avoid spending exorbitant tourist prices. I'm not somebody who enjoys haggling, but I had to. I remember at one of the shops, I brought the seller down by 60%. Afterwards, I was like, I'm not paying more than this. And then after a while, he was like, you could see I was walking out. He's like, okay, his first price was what he normally charges British tourists. So I had a bit of a chuckle. Bargaining is exhausting, but okay. I think if you're going to Old Dubai and you're going to the Gold Souk, you have to negotiate. Otherwise, you're going to pay too much. One thing that I struggle a little bit, I struggle getting my head around, is this thing called private beaches. Like in South Africa, we don't have private beaches. All beaches are public beaches. Okay, there are some beaches that are in nature reserves, which not everybody gets to go to, but there you have private beaches. You can buy properties that give you exclusive access to a portion of the beach, or the hotel has this portion of the beach. And if you're not in a hotel, you can't use that portion of the beach. And I find it wild. But maybe that's just me. Last year I talked about the size of the building, so I'm not going to talk about that again because I mean it's massive. Um, Interestingly, just again, I'm going through some of my notes from last year just to say what is worth chatting to you about and what's not happening. And like the place there feels like business is happening. It feels like deals are being done. It feels like money is being made. So I mean, it comes across as a hub for international business, and that's an interesting place to be. Safety is always, I mean, it looks like it's so safe. People are walking around late at night. I see ladies walking around on their own in the dark with their phones out. So I mean, that's definitely a privilege. And if you want to become a global citizen, like Dubai is probably a good place to serve as a base because you're there with a main airport that has a main airline carrier that can take you basically to anywhere in the world. Um, so I mean, it's truly a place that has amazing buildings. If there's anyone that has any questions, um, please add your questions to the comment section now so that I don't miss them. I feel like I'm talking too much. But anyways, like I said, um, would I go back? Definitely. I love being South African, but Dubai seems like a good backup place, and it's a good place to go on holiday. I don't think I'd move there necessarily, and something unless something really bad happens in South Africa. But like I said earlier, I'm investing there as well as a way of diversifying outside of South Africa, so that you don't only earn in rands. Um, Again, it's just fractional ownership of real estate because you can't really. I mean, I suppose you can buy a property there. It's just very expensive if you've got the money when you convert to like normal like starter properties. If you convert it to rands, let's call it 5 million, call it 4 million rand. It's not cheap unless you really go to the outskirts. But then you get dropping down to like 3 million rand. Again, big numbers. If you want to get a resident, if you want to get like a residency or they call it the Emirates ID, like a visa, residence visa, you need to pay 4 million rand. And to get like a 10-year visa there, you probably need to buy a property worth 10 million rand. Again, not cheap. Um, I mean, you could pay for it. You could get a loan, but that would be tricky because you'll have to have a big deposit. You could even buy property off plan, and you need to pay 20%. 20% of 10 million is still a lot of money. Um, Anyways, but if you are interested in investing there and you want to have a look at the fractional ownership of real estate, let me know. I can send you a code that will give you 750 rand off your first investment. I think I've covered everything. Like I said, interesting place to be, great place to have a holiday. I like staying close to the tram and the metro station so that I don't walk too far. I just get out of my building, 100, 200 meters, and I'm on the tram, on the train, going somewhere. So would I stay there permanently? Probably not. But it's a nice place to holiday. It's a nice place to do business. Interesting place. There's still places I haven't seen, so that's the other reason why I want to go back to go and see to attend the conference again and to go back. In closing, I want to leave you with this message. Remember, this is your life. You are responsible for it. If you want to succeed, it's on you. You can blame other people for you not succeeding, and you would be right. But the only person it would negatively affect is you. So take charge of your growth, take charge of your life. Remember, the final decision is always yours. Even if you make the wrong decision, you can learn from it and succeed. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast and you feel that it's added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Thank you very much.